Brilliant. All good to go. Yeah, thanks for sticking around after the pizza and beer, not leaving with the pizza in one hand, beer in the other, and pocket full of candy bars now from Fun Man Andy. We're going to try and keep this nice and fun. So yeah, I'm James. I work at Capable alongside Jack. I actually live very close by, so it's very convenient e-scooter commute in. That animation was meant to go all the way across the bridge, but it turns out it fell off. So that's not wet, luckily. So and yeah, so very good opportunity to come along and just talk a little bit about Capable. So yeah, the last ACE presentation I presented at was the Thames Valley ACE, which Jack actually hosts. Not very far away, bit more than an e-scooter away. Yeah, it's I actually presented on Zoom with that one, so I was sharing my screen. I was being able to kind of like sort of share the screen on Zoom, which if anyone has done like a live demo before on Zoom, you'll know that it's an exercise in long awkward pauses. But today this is obviously in person, so real in-person feedback, no mute. So if it's going really well, that's good. If it's not, terrifying with a live demo. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to skip the slide there, but I'm going to talk about Confluence first. So yeah, Confluence is often seen as a platform for brainstorming, ideation. If you're HR teams, you might be using it for training or as a place to kind of put lots of employee information for them to look at. It's a platform of truth. If you're an IT or a software team, you might be using Confluence for your technical documentation. And let's be honest, it's often just a place to bung a load of your notes. No matter what your department is in, you can access whatever teams, wherever you are, and it's not lost on your desktop. But I want to show you how actually it can be used as a really powerful marketing tool. So I'm going to set the scene. This is Rachel. She's a social media marketing manager, and she works for she works for Vitafleet, right? And Vitafleet is the Atlassian demo fictional company they use. So we thought they're obviously Australian, hence the koala. Vitafleet is a medical logistical supplies company. And her operations include managing campaigns, keeping teams on track, writing copy, creating visual assets. So, getting her hands dirty, Photoshop, creating videos, etc. on the Adobe Suite. And yeah, finally, a big part of her responsibility is approval. But recently she's been struggling a little bit in this area. Because often with the approved process she uses, and it might be the same with you guys, you might be sending people work in your team over email. You might have a long email chain, and often that approval process is scattered across a lot of platforms, a lot of email chains. It's really hard to see what's approved, what's not. Often you're approving outdated versions, you get lost work, and there's missteps in the process. She's got a talented team. Some super organized and tech savvy individuals, but given it's a marketing team, she's also got some brilliantly created but less sort of structured people who are maybe their organization isn't so hot and they're not as tech savvy perhaps. She's got targets to hit, bosses to impress, and Rachel doesn't want to just survive, but she wants to thrive in the workplace. So this is what her process looks like. So she starts off within the research phase, recording things on Confluence, goes through to the strategy phase, using that information to inform her strategy. She might be working with business teams to help with this strategy. Onto the production phase, so creating content, creating videos, etc. Onto the delivery, so she'll be posting social media posts, writing blog content. She'll be publishing Google ads, etc. And onto the tracking phase where she'll be able to get a good understanding of the performance with the metrics. And often this leads all the way back to the beginning where it can inform future research. But all the way through all these different processes, her and her team use a huge stack of different technology. That's going to be quite overwhelming to some, but I was speaking to this lovely lady at BT earlier, who's in sort of UX UI, and she was saying how many different software that they use in BT. You know, you could put Figma on there as well. So what we call this is solution overload. It's exhausting, and often it's very confusing with lots of different work in lots of different places. So it looks a little bit like this. So I'm going to do a little demonstration here. So you'll see if we keep adding nodes here, and this is the same for people and the same for processes. If we keep adding nodes, the number of links there grow exponentially, and what it results in is just a really confusing mess, right? And you'll see it's just, if you're thinking about all these being different platforms, and you're working on one of them, being able to communicate with the others just proves very difficult. What we really want is a spoke effect like this. And you want a centralized system, a centralized platform in the middle that can bring all of these different platforms together, such as Figma, as JIRA, as Google Drive, etc., so that you can access it from a central node. We want to make the mess on the left into the lovely, aesthetically pleasing wheel on the right. So how does Rachel use Confluence for her marketing? And how can she actually achieve that spoke effect with Confluence? How can she bring in all of these different platforms with Confluence? Let's go on to the VitaFleet marketing Confluence site. So this is their Confluence site, right? So they've got a space for marketing. They might have a space for accountancy. They might have a space for research and development. This is their homepage. And as you can see here in their processes folder, they're able to bring in different platforms in the form of smart links and be able to embed that into Confluence. So here they've got their JIRA boards. Now, you know, you might get people in Rachel's team who aren't very familiar with JIRA, and they don't really want to leave Confluence, and you don't want them to have to learn a new UI, but by putting it as a smart link, it's already there in front of them. They don't have to learn anything new. Here's a Google Sheet. So this is their marketing expenses. So this is all editable. They don't have to go into the Google Sheet. They can edit it from there. We actually use this internally with our marketing. And yeah, we've got graphs, charts, etc., that show the performance, often doing that and sometimes doing that, but that's the nature of it. And now let's go on to the customizable structure. Here's another way that Rachel uses Confluence to really create a tailor-made experience for her and her team. So we're going to go down to campaigns here, and you can see she's able to customize the sidebar there. It used to be that you had to create empty pages to create a page tree. Now Confluence have added folders, which is really, really super useful. Now if I go on to down here, you'll be able to see she's actually added more smart links in. So she's even got TikTok, for instance, which she's embedded in there. She's got YouTube, she's embedded in there. So again, just another way of bringing everything in into that centralized place. Now onto Evergreen content. So we all love JIRA, and JIRA is really good for tasks that have a start date and an end date. But for a lot of marketing tasks, this isn't really the case. It's more open-ended. Perhaps the example of a branding document is a good case study of this. So like in the VitaFleet branding document here, Let's go down to there. This is more open-ended. This is something that will evolve through time. It's not a task like that you can put in a ticket and just complete. So that's why Confluence is better for marketing teams for those open-ended tasks. And AI automation and integration, something you're probably very familiar with in this space because, you're all very techie people. But there's a lot of AI and automation that has been brought into Confluence recently. I'm going to show you how that can really, really, really speed your workflow up, especially if you're in a job like marketing where you have to create copy very quickly and consistently. So, for instance, I'm going to go on to this document here. You can very quickly, by adding a macro, AI intelligence, Atlassian intelligence, I can write here, expand on this article. Now I've got two options here. I can go to use general knowledge, and that will pull all the information just from this page. Or I can go down to use knowledge from your organization. That will pull all the information from the wider site, which is super useful, obviously, when you've got some pages with your brand guidelines on, some pages with your strategy, with your products on. Be able to read all that and add context to what the information that's already on the page. I'm just going to do it from the page. So it'll be able to analyze all that information, and it's maybe a little bit slow, but it will get there. There you go. So bring it all in, a lot like ChatGPT, but I think using it site-wide is a lot more impressive. So there you go. So when it comes to the automation as well, you do have the ability with Confluence now to, I think you've had the ability for a while, but they're expanding on the offerings with automation, where you can add in automated rules where pages will automatically go into certain folders, will automatically be sent as emails. You can send content out on pages as emails. You can send notifications out. We have notifications already, Slack integration that we use, so that if someone comments on a page, we'll get that message sent to us on Slack, which is a super big time saver, especially on the move, right? Now onto templates. So when I started using Confluence, I wasn't aware of templates at all, but it should be something that is drilled into people from the onset of Confluence being introduced into their company, because it's a huge time saver. So if I was to create a new page here and go down to templates there, I've got a lot of different categories here. If I'm a marketing executive like Rachel, I can very quickly, if her team needs to create an elevator pitch, done. If her team needs to, create a kind of a blog post that has parameters for deadlines, schedules, etc., done. And it's just something that, I maybe I was a bit slow on the uptake, but I didn't even realize a lot of the templates existed in Confluence to quite far through using it. So that's another way that she uses Confluence for her marketing. Where Confluence falls short. So where it falls short is, unlike JIRA, where you can very easily track people's tasks, out-the-box Confluence doesn't have the ability to track tasks very well. But with marketing tasks, marketing projects that can't fit onto a JIRA page, you're kind of stuck there, because you don't want to use JIRA necessarily because it's too big to fit on there, but you want something on Confluence. There's a lack of a scheduling system there. There's a limited asset management feature. Confluence, great for text, great for technical documentation, great for copy. When it comes to images, it's a very arduous process bringing in images offline. You often have to save them into your desktop and then insert them from your desktop, and then moving them around a page is really impossible. When I was using Confluence to kind of like save images to use later on, I was creating just multiple pages, blank pages, and just banging a load of pictures on there. And if Confluence is being used company-wide, why isn't it being used as an image management system? And obviously, the reason is because putting pictures onto a blank page is just inefficient. Next, difficulty in managing pages at scale. So, if you are in a company like Rachel's, you might have 100, 1,000 employees. You might have 1,000, 10,000 pages. The more pages that you add to Confluence, the more difficult it becomes to firstly find them. The inbuilt search feature is fine, but it's maybe a bit limited. And also, it's hard to monitor, organize those pages. So yeah, that's something else that we've identified as lacking. And then finally, there's no way to get approval from a team. Again, you can use JIRA in a way to create an approval, but if you were to create an approval on JIRA and then the link was to a Confluence page and you changed the Confluence page, the person that saw the approved ticket, if they go back to the Confluence page, they would have seen that it's changed, or they would have not realized that it's changed. So that's just unreliable. We want a way really to get full accountability of what people have put and what people's decision making has been with copy. Because in a marketing team such as Rachel's, there's a missing step between creating the content and taking it to delivery. If they're delivering content that they need to sort of like finalize on, they need an approval process there to fill that gap. So now, yeah, you can unload a load of individual plugins from lots of different organizations, lots of different companies, lots of different apps, and a lot of them work very well. However, the problem is you end up with an interface that looks very, very, very confusing. So up there, you'll see a load of plugins there. And what it means is just a cognitive overload. Each interface there, each plugin has its own UI to learn. People are switching between different UIs. You're going to cost a lot of money on training everyone on these different apps. Also, yeah, it just looks really busy and confusing, and there's going to be a bit of friction there with your employees when they're coming to use Confluence. Finally, if you're onboarding a load of separate different apps, they have a stacked membership cost. So now with Capable, you only see what you are wanting to use with Capable. So if you're not wanting to use it, it's hidden. If you click the Capable button up there, you'll be able to see the drop down, and that reduces cognitive load for the employees again. Here's a page. You add an approval. It adds an approval button up there. You add a diagram, adds a diagram button up there. Simple, it's easy, it's effective. Demo time. So we're going to start off with our calendar tool. So Capable's calendar tool can add events to pages, view events on the calendar, track events across sites. So let me show you how we can do this. So now if I go to the homepage here that that Vitafleet are using, so you might be very familiar with this process. You might map out a schedule using a table on a Confluence page. You can add an assignee, you can add a start date, an end date, but there's nothing that happens with these dates. Confluence doesn't do anything with these dates. If I scroll up here, this is a Capable calendar macro. So what that does is it pulls all the dates on this page from your table. Anything that has a date next to it, it will allocate it a slot in the calendar. And you can filter by color, with page, by person. You can change to week view, agenda view, etc. So let's do a little exercise here. So yeah, I was practicing the presentation earlier, so I already added in Hangover after the launch party for Jake the dog. But because he's approaching the age of 30 like me, his hangovers are getting worse and worse and worse. So what I can do actually is I can add in another column. I'll add a row in underneath, and I'm going to add in double hangover, because Jake the dog, unlike Fun Man Andy, he absolutely canes it. So now Jake the dog can have a double hangover that can last, let's call it 3 days, which is pretty brutal, isn't it? So you can start on the 15th and it will go through to, yeah, it was a really, really big night for Jake the dog. There we go. So let's update that. And you'll be able to see now, alongside the normal hangover that I added in my practice earlier, it's got a double hangover that's just been added live there. So now if we go over to the capable dashboard and we go over to our calendar tool here, this isn't just bringing in dates from that page, this is bringing in dates from the whole site. So if you're a marketing manager like Rachel, who's got a team with lots of different projects on different pages, it can bring it all in. Again, she can change the view by agenda, by year, by month, and she can add in colors. So she can categorize some of the dates by page, by user. Really clear way to take all the information she has across her teams and be able to schedule a lot more easy. So yeah, there you go. We learned how to extract dates from a table, calendar dashboard, and embed calendar. So next, approvals. So our approval feature, I'm going to go over to the branding document I showed earlier, because yeah, like this isn't going to fit on a JIRA ticket. So you would want a way to approve this page. So I'm going to go up to capable. I'm going to go down to approval, and I'm going to select a few of Rachel's teammates. I can then actually adjust the amount of approvals required. So I can set the minimum amount of approvers to 1. I can also set the page expiry. So say it was asked for approval now, in a month's time, that approval will be invalid. So I'm going to set that, and I'm going to send that over. And I added myself into there. And then if I go on to Slack, there you go. Approval request from James Bridge. It also sends it over email as well. So yeah, that's the full integration with Slack and email. So you can approve on the move, you can approve from your phone. I'm going to respond to this. Great job. And then if I refresh this page, that's already done it there. So it will show as approved. And another great feature of this is that I can actually look at the audit. So I can view which version of a page was approved. So there's only one version here, but if there was multiple ones, you'd be able to see which version was approved. And also you can actually add in a banner. So for instance, if I go down to Time Magazine, copy their article in Time Magazine, I guess, you can see that they've actually input a banner there, which will show any of the viewers the approval history alongside the responses, who's responded, who's rejected, who's approved. So that's the approval feature there. Now onto a favorite of mine. So we actually, with this app, we submitted it for Codegeist 2024. We actually won one of the categories. And then we did a conversation with the winners of the other categories on Friday. So yeah, please check it out on our YouTube channel. It just was an opportunity to kind of talk to the other winners, because it's a really great community, a lot like this ACE community. Very friendly, very opening and welcoming, and helping each other. So we thought it was an opportunity to talk about our tips and tricks, trials, tribulations for future participants in Codegeist. But yeah, the image app. So let's go over to capable images. So, and this might again be relevant to yourself at BT. If your team's using Confluence, but not to store images, this could be a solution, because typically Confluence hasn't really been seen as a very good image management tool. And you can see here, we've got folders. So we've got folders for banners, we've got folders for headshots, logos. And what I can do here, for instance, is I can actually drag and drop. Let's drag that one in. There's going to be 2 copies here, but there you go. It will drag it in. And yeah, just really easy. It operates a lot like a Mac Finder or Windows folder, which is kind of what's been missing on Confluence so far. And then what I'd like to show as well is how you can use phone integration to actually add an image in. So Jack, my colleague over there, is currently taking a photo of you, and he's uploading it to the Confluence site on his phone. We'll go to global. I'm really glad that my pizza fingers aren't affecting with the mouse pad here. There we go. A bit creepy, I know, because you didn't know there's going to be a photo taken. And we'll delete this straight after. But yeah, it's just, the application here is really good, because you could have an event like this where you could have someone back at the office doing the marketing. You could have someone on the floor, boots on the ground, who is at these events, and they could be uploading it from their phone, putting it on Confluence, and then the person who has to do the social media back in the office, they might want to add it to a page. So, for instance, if I create a new page, and I go capable images, you'll see here a load of our different macros, and click on here, I'll be able to actually select that image. And also it has a lot more positioning usability than the native image feature on Confluence. You can wrap text, etc. So yeah, it just elevates Confluence to a different stage using images. I'm glad that worked. That was good. Right, so onto the content management. So this is the final feature that I'm going to be talking about. So this is how we've brought all the different capabilities together into one. So really, this kind of this makes Confluence what it should be, really, bringing an ability to organize your pages and find everything a lot quicker. So we're going to go to capable. We're going to go to search. And here you'll see some saved searches. So for instance, we've made a search here that features all Vitafleet's media here. You can add different filters, so different columns. So I could add in approvers, I could add in the status, I could add in, I could even, create a column here that has characters, so you can see how many characters a page has. Obviously, these have 0 because they're media pages. But yeah, rhetorically speaking, you could create a page for different posts. If you knew that they were tweets, you knew that there had to be a certain character length. That would be really useful. So yeah, you have the ability to save searches. You have the ability to also insert these searches into your page. And you have the ability to actually interact with a document without having to open it up. So here I can see all the information about this page. So here's a summary. You can see the nature of its approvals. So let's go to this one, for instance. I can see this one's been approved. Let's go to pending approvals, and you can actually approve from here without opening it up. So yeah, you don't have to sort of spend ages opening up different pages. And you can see, if you're Rachel and you've got a team of people underneath you that are making different marketing posts, you want an easy way to filter your search into what's been approved, what needs approving, what's been rejected. And yeah, you can bring that search into your page as a macro. So for instance, I'm going to go over to here. I'll show one that's already been created. So if we go on to Time Magazine here, oh, sorry, it's not that one, it's this one. So this is a search macro that's been put onto a page. So it's a really good way of giving context to a page. And yeah, if this is about a certain campaign, you can filter by the pages that are relevant to that campaign. So there you go. Those are all the different tools. And now Rachel has made for a happier workforce, less confused, got the job done, impressed her bosses, and ultimately, she's pretty chuffed there. So yeah, what does Capable and Confluence do to create the marketing powerhouse? It has that unified hub, ability to cut costs on onboarding different other platforms, more time for creativity to let marketers do what they're actually paid to do instead of faffing about with a lot of organization and techie stuff, and faster onboarding and training as well. Capable for Confluence is available on the Atlassian marketplace. It's free for users below 10. For anyone, no matter how many people are in your team, you can have a free trial for it for a month. I'd advise you to check it out on the Atlassian marketplace.